So if you haven't built a PHP website before, you probably won't be aware that it's very useful to have a header and a footer file for your website. And that's the file that, for the header, brings in CSS, any JavaScript that's needed, and usually puts in the logo and the menu bar, which is going to be at the top of every page. And similarly, the footer file puts everything at the bottom of the page and then closes off the HTML and anything else that you need to do at the end of the page. So we're going to do that here. There's a number of ways that you can do it. You don't have to do it the way I'm going to show you, but this way is as good as any. So let's move over to our site class. We're going to define a private property because we don't want it, or we don't need it to be viewable outside of the object. And we'll call it header. And we'll have a private, I should say footer. Of course, we need a string in front of that to make it a variable. Okay, and they're just going to be the file names of our header and footer. So let's just save that, switch back over to index.php. So let's clean this up for what we need. We'll define our site first, and we'll keep our var dump for the moment. Brilliant. So somehow we need, in this file here, we need to tell the page class, when we create the site, what the header and footer files are going to be. So there's a number of ways we could do that. We could do something like that and use the constructor function, constructor method, I should say, or we could use a separate method. I'm going to go for a separate method for no reason other than it keeps it individual from the constructor function and allows us to then play with it separately if we want to. But there really isn't a particular reason to do it one way or the other. So let's go back over to site.php, and we'll create a method. This method I want to be accessible from outside of this function, so I'll make it public function, and we'll call this add header. And it's going to take a header, and very simply it's going to say this header is equal to the variable that's been passed to that function. So just before we do a footer, let's just check that that's all working okay. So we've created our new site. So we want to call the add header method to add header.php. I'll give you a moment or two to pause the video and do that yourself. Awesome, I hope you did. Site and add header, header.php. And now let's just have a look, see what that does. Fantastic. So we've got our string, which is private, and our header, which is equal to header.php. Okay, great. So again, very quickly, can you do an add footer function very similarly? Okay, I hope you did this, copying and pasting our public function, and we'll make it add footer. And this, we just want to set the footer equal to the variable that's been passed with that function. And then we'll change it to add footer. Okay, we'll refresh that and have another look. Brilliant. So now we've got our header and we've also got our footer, which is equal to footer.php. Fantastic. So we've told the PHP compiler what our header and footer files are. Let's actually create them. So we want to have header and footer files. So let's bring back our main Fire FTP page, and we'll just create them right there. So header.php, and footer.php. Great, and let's just open them both in Text Wrangler, and then get rid of that. Okay, I always like to use example.com to get my header and footer. So I'm going to use Command Alt U, which gives me the source of this page. In fact, I don't want to select the whole thing. I just want to select the bit that's going to be at the top of every page. There we go. So that will do. So we've got all the HTML, bit of style, etc. And every page is going to need this at the top. So in fact, I've just copied that into the footer, which is a bad idea. So let's get rid of that and switch it into the header instead. Okay, now this div content is going to be different for each page. So I'm going to leave that and we'll add that as the actual content. And then the footer just needs to contain that. Simple as that. And we're not going to edit those again, so we can close those down. Keep things simple. Okay, so we've added a header and a footer file. What we haven't done, of course, is actually included those yet, but we'll do those when we find out how to render our site and actually create a page in the next video.